Ano-chan, it is past midnight, which means when I press F5 on this keyboard, we should see the new Ano album appear. Here we go, here we go. F5. I am not connected to the internet. That was not the wonderful dramatic moment I was going for. All right, I am now reconnected to the internet. Let's enter. And is it there? Is it there? Is the new album there? Bone Bomb, it's there. All right, so that is what I am going to be doing. I'm going to be doing track by track listen to, as I do every time there's like a particularly important album that's either really important to the community or really important to me. And this is one of those albums. I am super excited about this. I've been excited about this for a while. I mean, you can tell by the fact that Anna has been one of the cover arts on the back of my studio wall for the longest time now. And, you know, it's just so important to say how much her music has really been quite just impactful, I think, quite impressive. She's not had the overseas success and notoriety of like artists like Ado, Yoasobi, Atarashigako, but I think she has been a sensation in her own right, but more of a sensation within Japan, domestically. So this is definitely an artist who I feel more people should find out about. But basically, usually when I do these track-by-track reviews of new albums and I go through and do a reaction to each and every single song, usually I'm ending up finding myself doing a big spiel before I get into every single song. So this time I thought instead I'm just going to give like a little bit of an advanced spiel here. I'm going to talk in advance about how I feel about this album and why I think this is so exciting. Now, first of all, like I said, she is a phenomenal artist. If you're watching this video, you're probably already aware of the fact that just her whole character, her whole personality, it's like kicked off a lot of trends here in Japan, but it's the fact that she's kind of this introvert with a slightly rebellious sense to her, but at the same time she's doing everything from being a guitarist in the band Eyes, which is unfortunately no longer going now, but that was like a real sort of noise punk band. But she was also an idol for You'll Melt More, which then moved on to being her own solo idol work. She has been crossing boundaries, doing everything from metal through to pop, and her first album, which came out a couple of years ago and is shown here, Nyan Yang Oi, which is basically a reference to the sound of a cat vomiting. This album was really put together as her career started off, which is why there's two parts to it. There's a former part, which is really the first few songs she released solo, and then it turned into kind of like a compilation album with extra songs written to fill it out and make it into more of an album. But that initial collection of songs, which basically constituted her debut album, was just, at the time when it came out, it was either my album of the year or very near to it. It was so eclectic, so interesting. Every single song had a different vibe. And a lot of this, I think, emanates from her personality. And she has a lot of input in the songs. She doesn't write all of them. That is fair to say. I mean, she has got songwriting history, so it's not that she can't write songs, and she obviously can play music, as we said before by talking about her guitar playing foray with the band Eyes. But she often works with fairly well-known songwriters, but I feel like a lot of it is driven by her vision for each song. And she's talked a lot in the past about how important it is to have those personal messages in songs. And some of the lyrics and the messages that she conveys they vary between the genuinely amusing and funny all the way through to the quite honestly emotionally moving songs. So when we come to this new album, Bone Born Bomb, and you can make of that title what you will, I got to say that this is one where we've heard a few tracks, obviously a few singles come out in advance, as tends to be the case, but I'm genuinely excited for this because I want to see her just expressing more and gaining more of the maturity that comes with age and experience of doing these things. It must be said that obviously these second albums are often the most difficult ones because you have to kind of follow up what you did on your debut, whatever made you successful there, but without reproducing it for fear of diminishing returns. And one of the other factors to take into consideration is obviously, like I say, that first album was somewhat put together by it being a collection of songs that were produced very much at their own pace, whereas when you're doing a new album, you're very much writing songs knowing that you're going to have to now release a follow-up album. So there's a lot to be said for that whole pressure that comes about on the second album. And I am genuinely intrigued to see how she's going to deal with this. I'm genuinely intrigued to see how the album's going to sound. And I have been avoiding spoilers like you wouldn't believe. They put out a digest video giving you an idea for all of the songs. Well, I'm assuming that's what it was, because that's what usually a digest video is. I avoided clicking on that. I avoided listening to it. There's been adverts, I know, which have had like Anna's music in the background recently. I've been muting adverts so I didn't accidentally hear the new songs. I have been very careful to make sure I didn't hear anything. But what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to load up the first of the songs and we're going to dive in to this 12-track album. I'm getting an advert, by the way, just in case you're wondering. The reason why I've had to remove the thing. I'm getting adverts right now, waiting for the advert to go away so we can start listening to the album. Well, I should point out that the very first song on said album is the Anna featuring Leela's song, which, do you know what? Should have guessed that. Should have guessed that before I pressed play. That is, well, as you know, I've done videos about that before, one of my favourite songs. So let's do what we should do and jump onto track 2, which is where we're going to start our listening experience. All right, so track number 2. Let's load it up and let's get into this video. If it could go wrong, it is going wrong. Track number 2 on the new album Bone Born Bomb. This song is called Bubble Me Face. The naming traditions, naming conventions are all going out the window on this album, and I'm fine with it. Anyway, let's jump in. This is the first song we're going to be listening to on our track-by-track review. But of course, if you already know my feeling on that opening track by Anna and Leela's from USRB, but also from her own solo music, you'll know that that is just one of my flat-out, again, one of my favourite songs of last year. Absolutely adored that. And in a year full of collaborations as it was last year, I gave it my award for the best collaboration when we did the end of year awards on my other channel, Back of Broadcast. So anyway, enough talk. Like I said, I'll do a long preamble before this one, but let's get into this song. And then that means it'll be able to be a bit quicker when we do the other ones afterwards. So track by track review, song number 2. And this song is called Bubble Me Face. I am so glad I avoided spoilers for this album because this is, I think it's going to be wild. Let's go. I call it the Bubble Me Face. Alright, I'm definitely getting a vibe of another song you might know. Oh, that's a nice big beat. Yeah, I can't help it. I'm getting the F Wonderful World vibe straight off the bat, and I love that song. Alright. What are we gonna do with this? What are we gonna do with this? That's funky. Leaving a lot of room in the bottom so it can drop. I love how they're keeping the restraint. Letting it build up. Why is this some like vocal siren sound? Oh. Ooh, working that chord pattern in there is beautiful. I am definitely going to be repeat playing this song. The little spaces they're leaving. Oh, the bass. Oh, I love that. It's so playful, but you can just feel it's giving room to come back in. Now we're lo-fi. And the little vocal things she's doing as well are great. Here it comes. Here it comes. Man, the build-up on this is strong. Man, Man, that is a lot. They leave you hanging on for that, don't they? Man, this is going to be crazy live. I really hope this gets a music video retrospectively. Oh, and again. Oh, that ending is very Queen. Man, so much going on there. So much going on in that song. That is crazy. Okay, so definitely off the bat, I mean, I gotta say, I adore this. I really like this. But I am immediately aware, and you probably heard this from the minute it came in, Taku Inoue. The minute this came in, definitely we were getting the vibes of you could get the F Wonderful World vibe there straight away, just in the sort of the beat, the dancey sort of beat, and then like having that distorted riff, which is that sort of up and down style of riff, walking down and walking up, very F Wonderful World. So you cannot deny there's obviously a DNA link between these two songs. But what I really liked about this is I absolutely adored the fact that this was basically playing a game of making you hang on. So it's got two, like, I don't even know if I call them choruses, just two like explosive refrains. And when it gets to those bits, it's amazing, but it just builds you up in the most fantastic range of ways. I love the way that sort of like when we get into that second verse, just everything goes right down. You get like these little quiet sort of jazz sounds, and everything's very minimal. And then you think it's going to build up, and then it goes to like a lo-fi chiptune kind of thing, and it's very sort of computery. And again, no bass, but it's just a little bit harder. It sounds a little bit closer, and then you got that guitar squeal sound, the distortion, the feedback of the guitar is just building up and building up and building up. And even then, when we get to the final note, you kind of hang on and hang on and hang on for almost like a couple of bars of just hanging on and waiting. When you think it's just going to be quiet and then beat drops in, it's like they leave you just a few more beats extra. It's just such a playful way of making you wait for it. And I'm a great believer that the best thing there's two important parts of a song arrangement. There's the layering, the number of things you can hear at any given time that give it more depth and interest, but there's also the progression, the way that the song has to feel like it's going somewhere. And I just love the fact that this song is always thinking about, sort of like, it knows what you're expecting, and it's kind of have that delayed reward feeling. So when the chorus comes in, when the refrain comes in, it's like a million times more exciting because you've been built up to it, but built up to it in a really playful, fun way. You kind of feel like you and the song are having fun together, waiting for the drop. I love the way that that's set up like that. And the whole song is basically that being done twice, which seems like a very simple thing, but it's just, again, it works so many playful, fun, little minimalist tricks, taking you and building you up to those big refrains. What also works really well here, I will say, is that both of those choruses, they start off by just going heavy and giving you that riff to sort of like bang your head along to, but then they develop out of that, and at the end of each chorus, I don't know if I call it a chorus or a refrain, but at the end of each one, it suddenly works in a few chord changes, because this song is very much built around a riff. And so a riff just da na 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 na. It's almost like a melody, but a chord pattern is very thickly the entire underneath of the song. The guitars, the instruments, the bass, all sort of moving up, moving down. It's a much more thick and central part of songwriting that goes underneath your riffs and melodies. And of course, this song is just playfully working around a riff for the best part, but then just to have the choruses suddenly have, and now we're going to throw in chord changes. It's a beautiful way to just give a little bit of extra emotional punch, give it a little bit more grandeur, a little bit more, it's not just a playful riff, it's kind of got a little bit of a serious depth at the end of each refrain. I think that's a really cool way of delivering the emotion. It just builds and it builds and it builds. This is a song very much after my own heart, and I will say Anna once again gives a solid and superb vocal performance. I said earlier about some of the artists who we get familiar with for being famous outside of Japan. And you think about artists like Ado, and it's all about the sort of the big dramatic vocals. But for me, anything that artists like Ado or Suisei can do in sort of drama and emotion, I feel like that's the dramatic way of doing it. I feel like Anna is more of like, she's got this very personal, playful, almost, it's not the big grandeur. Instead, it feels very direct. It feels very personal. You listen to her lyrics and it just feels like a person just sort of going through their own little playful emotions in a way that's, there's something so human about her delivery. And that's a weird thing to say, but hopefully that makes sense. I just thought this was seriously fun. Seriously fun. Very much in line with the kind of stuff we expect from her. And just brilliant. Bubble me face. What the hell is going on? So next up is Bone Backy Twilight Diary, and that will be doing in the next video. But guys, so I'm going to be dropping these videos throughout today, just so I can get my reviews out to all of these songs. Hopefully you'll be seeing that next one quite soon. This is obviously the longest one because I'm giving the whole intro to the whole concept of what we're doing here. But wow, I really enjoyed that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Get in the comments, tell me what you think. Next song coming up soon, so stay tuned for it. Remember to subscribe and all that YouTube stuff so you're here when the next one comes out. And until I hopefully do see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao.